Hi guys, it's me, Miss Guerrero. I will be delivering your lesson from this screencast. The nice thing about this is that you will be able to pause on any slide that you may need more time on. So your agenda for today will be to complete your warm-up, take Cornell notes on the discriminant, then complete a few practice problems. So for your warm-up, you will need to find the vertex for the quadratic equation 2x squared plus 4x minus 1 equals 0. Press pause so you can take some time completing this on your notes. Your Cornell notes will be on the discriminant. Yay! The objective of this lesson is to teach you how to use the discriminant to determine the number of real solutions for a quadratic. In other words, you will find out how many times a parabola actually crosses the x-axis. So for this particular slide, just look, listen, and learn. You are familiar with the quadratic formula, and you have already used it to find roots or solutions for a quadratic equation, such as y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. With that particular function, you can actually use what is underneath the square root sign to find out how many times a quadratic equation will cross the x-axis, if it does or if it doesn't. So your discriminant is b squared minus 4ac. You are going to use that to find the number of roots or solutions. So for example, this slide you will copy. You'll notice that the discriminant here, b squared minus 4ac, if it's greater than 0, there are two solutions. And here's an example where the parabola actually intersects the x-axis at 2 points. If your discriminant is equal to 0, there is only one solution, and therefore this parabola will only intersect the x-axis once. And here in this case, the discriminant is less than 0, therefore there are no real solutions, and your parabola will not intersect the x-axis. For your next three examples, you will determine the number of roots for the quadratic equations. Y equals 2x squared minus 5x plus 3 is the first example. So first, identifying your A, B, and C, just like we did when we were solving using quadratic equations. You will be now taking these values and substituting them into the discriminant, b squared minus 4ac. And once you substitute, you can find out what your solution is, whether, and then therefore determine how many solutions this particular quadratic equation has. So notice that it is equal to 1. So since the discriminant is greater than 0, there are two real solutions. And so here is a picture using a graphing calculator of what this parabola looks like. And if I zoom in, you can see here that the parabola intersects the x-axis twice at these 2 points. The second example, y equals negative x squared plus 4x minus 7. Again, identifying your a, b, and c, your coefficients of your x squared and your x and your constant. Substituting in those values into the discriminant, and then simplifying. So 16 minus 28 equals negative 12. In this case, the discriminant is less than 0, and so there are no real solutions. So here's an example of that parabola where it does not intersect the x-axis whatsoever. And your last example, y equals x squared minus 6x plus 9. Identifying your a, b, and c, and substituting them into the discriminant, and then simplifying. You'll notice that 36 minus 36 equals 0. So since your discriminant equals 0, you have only one real solution. And here's an example of that parabola. If I zoom in here, you can actually notice that the parabola intersects the x-axis at 1 point. On your notes, go ahead and complete these 7 problems. You will be finding the discriminant for each equation and tell whether it has 2 solutions, 1 solution, or no real solutions. Okay. Thanks, guys. Press pause.